"Marissa, honey, you're too broke to sit at the adult table." My mother's voice cut through the Thanksgiving chatter like a knife. I stood there, fork in hand, staring at the empty chair I'd been about to occupy. Denise, my mother, picked up my plate with a tight smile and gestured toward the corner where folding chairs surrounded a card table. "The kids' table is over there." My sister laughed nervously. My aunt looked away. 20 adults watched as my mother physically moved my dinner to the corner table where my teenage cousins sat texting. I was 32 years old. The kids stared at their phones, embarrassed for me. Heat rushed to my face, but I kept my expression blank. I'd learned years ago that reacting only made things worse with Denise. I walked to the kids' table and sat down slowly. The metal chair creaked under me. Around the adult table, conversation resumed, but I caught the sideways glances and whispered comments. My mother returned to her seat, satisfied. She'd made her point in front of everyone. I ate 3 bites of turkey that tasted like dust. Then I stood, grabbed my coat, and said one word. "Noted." I made it 15 miles before pulling over on the highway shoulder. My hands shook on the steering wheel as tears finally came. Not sad tears. Angry ones. Humiliated ones. I'd left a toxic job 3 months ago because my boss constantly undermined me. Now my own mother was doing the same thing. My phone buzzed. A notification from Facebook. I opened it and felt my stomach drop. Denise had posted a photo of the kids' table with the caption, "When your broke daughter finally learns her place. Happy Thanksgiving everyone." 3 laughing emojis. Already 12 likes. I stared at that post until my vision blurred. This wasn't just cruelty. This was public humiliation. My mother had decided my financial struggles were entertainment. I'd been freelancing since leaving my job, making enough to cover rent and food, but apparently that wasn't enough to earn basic respect. I screenshot the post. I didn't know why. Maybe for proof. Maybe so I could remember this moment when I doubted myself later. My phone buzzed again. The family group chat exploded. Someone had shared Denise's post there too. My sister wrote, "Mom's right though. Marissa's been struggling for months. Maybe this will motivate her." 3 cousins added laughing emojis. Another wrote, "Brutal but fair." I watched the messages pile up, each one a tiny cut. Then a private message appeared from my Uncle James, my dad's younger brother. "You deserve better. Call me." I called immediately. "Uncle James? Marissa, I'm sorry about today. Your mother was out of line." His voice was tight with anger. "I need to talk to you about something important. Can we meet tomorrow?" "What about?" He paused. "It's about your father's will." My heart stuttered. Dad had died 5 years ago. "What about it?" "There's a second will. One your mother never told you about." Another pause. "And you're named in it." I sat in my parked car, engine running, trying to process his words. "A second will? Meet me at Riverside Cafe tomorrow at 10. I'll explain everything." Uncle James slid a folder across the cafe table. His hands trembled slightly. "Your father wrote this 6 months before he died. He asked me to hold on to it until the time was right. Why didn't Mom mention this?" "Because she doesn't know it exists." He opened the folder carefully. "Your father suspected she'd try to control everything. He made sure certain assets went directly to you, outside of probate. Inside were legal documents I barely understood. Trusts. Deeds. Investment statements. My father's handwriting on a letter clipped to the front. For Marissa. For when you're ready to build something of your own." My vision blurred. "Build what?" Uncle James pulled out a small brass key. "There's a safety deposit box at First National Bank. Box 347. Everything you need is inside." He pressed the key into my palm. "Your father believed in you, Marissa. He saw something in you that Denise refused to see." I closed my fingers around the key. It felt warm. The bank vault was cold and smelled like old paper. The manager led me to box 347 and left me alone in a small private room. My hands shook as I turned the key. Inside was a manila envelope, thick with documents. I spread everything on the table. Property deeds for a commercial building on Morrison Street. Savings bonds worth $40,000. Investment statements showing another $60,000 in stocks. And a letter, 3 pages long, in my father's careful handwriting. Marissa, it began. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I can't be there to see what you build. The property on Morrison Street was my first investment. It's rough now, but the area is growing. I bought it for you. Not for your mother to control. Not for your sister to claim. For you. Because you have vision. You have heart. And you deserve a foundation to build your dreams on. Don't let anyone make you small. Love, Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I noticed the address. Morrison Street. That area had exploded with development in the last 2 years. The property was bigger than I expected. 2 stories, probably built in the 1960s, with large windows and good bones. But it was filthy. Dust everywhere. Water damage in one corner. Graffiti on the back wall. I walked through empty rooms, my footsteps echoing. A homeless man had been sleeping in one corner. Fast food wrappers littered the floor. This would cost a fortune to renovate. Money I didn't have. The savings bonds and stocks would barely cover materials. I sat on the dirty floor and put my head in my hands. What was Dad thinking? Then I noticed a drawer in the old reception desk, partially hidden. I pried it open. Inside was another envelope, yellowed with age. Bank receipts. A small trust fund Dad had set up, separate from everything else. $50,000, earning interest for 5 years. I pressed the receipts to my chest. Dad, what were you planning? He'd given me everything I needed. Now I just had to be brave enough to use it. A truck pulled up outside while I was measuring the front room. A man in his 40s climbed out, wearing work boots and a flannel shirt. This property's been empty for years. You the new owner? I am. Marissa. I shook his hand. Declan Murphy. I'm a contractor. I used to do work for your father, actually. Recognized the building. He looked around, assessing. He talked about you a lot. Said you were the smart one in the family. My throat tightened. He said that. All the time. Declan walked the perimeter, knocking on walls, checking the ceiling. Mind if I do a quick assessment? No charge. I owe your dad a favor he never collected on. 20 minutes later, Declan stood in the center of the main room with a measuring tape and a notepad. The foundation's solid. Roof needs work, but it's fixable. With the right renovation, you're looking at a property worth close to $2 million in this market. I nearly fell over. $2 million? Maybe more. This area's the next big thing. I should have known Denise would find out. Small towns have big mouths. 3 days after my visit to the property, my phone rang. Mom's name lit up the screen. I considered not answering. But curiosity won. Marissa, sweetheart. How are you? Her voice was sugary sweet. Fake. I heard some interesting news about a property on Morrison Street. Who told you? Oh, you know how people talk. Is it true your father left you something? The sweetness evaporated. Because that doesn't seem fair. Everything was supposed to be split equally. It was a separate will, Mom. Legal and clear. Silence. Then ice. I see. Well, just remember who raised you for 18 years. Who fed you and clothed you. Don't be selfish with what's yours. Family shares. I thought about the kids' table. The Facebook post. The years of being told I'd never amount to anything. I'll keep that in mind. Good girl. We'll talk soon about how you can help your sister and me. She hung up before I could respond. The next morning, I drove to the property early. Glass crunched under my feet before I even reached the door. Someone had smashed 2 windows. Spray paint covered the front wall. Foreclose this dump. My hands shook with rage as I called Declan. He arrived 30 minutes later with a police officer friend. They examined everything carefully. Declan crouched near the broken windows, studying the ground. Boot prints here. Size 10, men's work boots. Expensive ones. I knew exactly who wore expensive work boots. My stepfather, Richard. Denise's husband. The officer took photos and filed a report, but we all knew nothing would come of it. Declan helped me board up the windows. You okay? I'm done being passive, I said, hammering a nail harder than necessary. This is my property. My inheritance. And I'm not letting anyone take it from me. Declan grinned. That's the spirit. Your dad would be proud. I hammered another nail. Yes, he would be. I couldn't afford to renovate everything at once. So I got creative. I found contractors willing to work for partial equity. They'd invest their labor now, and I'd pay them a percentage of profits later. Declan introduced me to his network. Electricians, plumbers, painters. Good people who believed in the project. I started documenting everything. Before photos. Progress shots. Time-lapse videos of walls being torn down and rebuilt. I posted them online with explanations of the process. Honest captions about inheriting property and learning as I went. The first video got 200 views. The second got 1,000. By the third week, my renovation account had 20,000 followers. People loved watching the transformation. They sent encouragement, advice, and questions. Then I got a direct message from someone claiming to be a commercial real estate investor. Interested in discussing your Morrison Street property. Serious buyer. Let's talk numbers. I stared at that message for an hour before responding. The investor wanted to meet at an upscale restaurant. His name was Marcus Chen, and he wore a suit that probably cost more than my car. He slid a folder across the table. I'll offer you $600,000 for 50% ownership. Cash. Today. I opened the folder. The offer was real. Legally binding. $600,000. More money than I'd ever seen. Enough to quit worrying about bills. Enough to tell Denise she'd been wrong about me. I almost signed. Then I remembered Dad's letter. For when you're ready to build something of your own. Not sell. Build. I closed the folder and slid it back. I appreciate the offer, Mr. Chen. But I'm not selling. His eyebrows rose. You're turning down $600,000? I'm turning down $600,000 to build something worth $2 million. I stood up. My father didn't leave me this property to flip it. He left it so I could create something lasting. Marcus actually smiled. Smart. Call me if you change your mind. I walked out feeling 10 feet tall. Denise exploded when she heard I'd rejected the offer. She showed up at the property unannounced, Richard lurking behind her. You turned down that kind of money? Are you insane? It's my property, Mom. Don't you mom me. You owe us. I spent thousands raising you. Thousands. And now you won't even share the windfall your father left. I kept sanding the wooden railing I'd been restoring. Dad left it to me specifically. In a separate will. That you didn't know about. Her face turned red. That money should be split among the family. You mean you? Don't get smart with me, Marissa. I set down the sandpaper and faced her. I sat at the kids' table on Thanksgiving. You posted about it on Facebook. You called me broke and laughed. Now you want my money? That was just a joke. Jokes are funny. That was cruel. I picked up the sandpaper again. Please leave. You're trespassing. Richard grabbed her arm before she could respond. Come on, Denise. Let's go. But she turned at the door, eyes blazing. I'll take legal action if I have to. 2 weeks later, Denise staged an intervention. She invited me to dinner at my aunt's house. When I arrived, the whole family was there. Waiting. Sitting in a circle like some twisted therapy session. Denise stood at the center. Marissa, we're all concerned about your behavior lately. You've been gloating about your success. Flaunting your money. It's not the family way. My sister nodded. You've changed. Money's made you mean. I looked around the circle. Most wouldn't meet my eyes. But Uncle James sat in the corner, arms crossed, watching everything with a disgusted expression. I haven't changed, I said quietly. I've just stopped accepting being treated badly. Treated badly? Denise laughed. We've supported you through everything. You made me sit at the kids' table. You posted about it online. You mocked me publicly for struggling. That was motivation. That was cruelty. I stood up. And you're not getting a single dollar from my inheritance. Dad made sure it went to me. Not you. Because he knew exactly what you'd do. I walked toward the door. Denise shouted after me, "You'll regret this." I turned back. "No. You will." 6 months later, I hosted the grand opening of the Morrison Street Creative Center. The renovation was complete. The building now housed co-working spaces, rental offices for small businesses, and an event studio. Every square foot was rented before opening day. Local press showed up. So did my social media followers, some traveling from other states. The mayor cut a ribbon. Declan stood beside me, grinning. "Your dad would be so proud." Then I saw her. Denise, walking through the front door in her best dress and fake smile. She'd brought my sister and Richard. My stomach clenched. She made her way toward me through the crowd, arms spread wide. "Marissa, sweetheart, this is absolutely beautiful." I stepped back before she could hug me. "Thank you." "You know, she couldn't have done this without my sacrifices," Denise announced to the people nearby. "All those years of supporting her dreams. Feeding her. Paying for school. This is really our success." The crowd went quiet. Everyone turned to look. My hands clenched into fists. I took a breath and smiled. "Actually, let me clarify something for everyone here." I spoke clearly so everyone could hear. My father left me this property in a separate will. He funded the initial renovation through savings bonds and investments I never knew existed. He did this because he believed in me when others didn't. Denise's smile froze. My mother didn't know about any of this. She had no involvement in this project. Financial or otherwise. I kept my voice even. Professional. And while I appreciate everyone who supported me along the way, I want to be clear about where this came from. My father. Not family money. Not shared resources. My inheritance, given specifically to me. People nodded. A few even clapped. Declan squeezed my shoulder. Denise's face turned white, then red. She grabbed Richard's arm. "We're leaving." They pushed through the crowd toward the exit. My sister followed, shooting me a glare over her shoulder. Uncle James appeared at my side. "Well done." The party continued. I watched my mother's car peel out of the parking lot and felt nothing but relief. 3 days later, I received legal papers. Denise was suing me for a portion of the inheritance. The courtroom was cold. Denise sat across the aisle with her lawyer, wearing black like she was in mourning. She'd hired someone expensive. I'd hired someone better. Her lawyer stood first. "Your Honor, Mrs. Hale believes her late husband's assets should have been distributed equally among family members. This separate will was hidden from her, denying her rightful share." My lawyer stood. "Your Honor, Mr. Hale had every legal right to distribute his assets as he saw fit. The separate will was properly executed, witnessed, and filed. Mrs. Hale received her full share of the marital estate. This property was Mr. Hale's separate property before the marriage, held in trust for his daughter specifically. The judge reviewed documents for what felt like hours. Declan testified about my father's intentions. Uncle James testified about being asked to hold the second will. My lawyer presented the trust fund records, the original property deed showing Dad's sole ownership, and even the letter Dad wrote me. Finally, the judge looked up. "Mrs. Hale, your claim is denied. Mr. Hale's wishes were clear and legal. This court sees no grounds for redistribution." He slammed the gavel. Denise stood, shaking. "This isn't over." But it was. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and a single document. My own will. I'd been putting this off, but the lawsuit had made it clear. I needed to make my wishes known while I could. I listed everything. The property. My business. My savings. The stocks and bonds from Dad. Declan got a percentage, for believing in me. Uncle James got a share. Several charities got donations. Then I came to the line about Denise. I typed slowly, carefully. To Denise Hale, my mother, I leave $1. This is not out of spite. This is a reminder that she once valued me at less than a seat at her table. I hope she understands the symbolism. I printed the will, signed it, had it witnessed and notarized. The lawyer sealed it in an envelope and filed it with his office. I went to bed that night feeling lighter than I had in years. 4 months after losing the lawsuit, Denise called me. Her voice was different. Smaller. Marissa, honey, I need to ask you something. What? Richard and I are in a bit of financial trouble. His business isn't doing well. We need someone to co-sign a loan. She paused. Just $20,000. We'll pay you back. I almost laughed. You sued me 4 months ago for my inheritance. That was different. This is an emergency. You called me too broke to sit at your table. You humiliated me in front of the family. You vandalized my property. You tried to steal my inheritance. And now you want me to co-sign a loan? Silence. The answer is no, Mom. Marissa, please. No. I kept my voice kind but firm. You made your choices. These are the consequences. She started crying. Loud, dramatic sobs. After everything I did for you. I raised you. I sacrificed. This is how you repay me. You didn't raise me to be your personal bank. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up. She called back 17 times. I blocked the number. 8 months after the grand opening, my phone rang with a number I hadn't blocked. My sister. Mom wants to reconcile. Why? She feels bad about everything. She wants you to come to Christmas dinner. As a family. My sister's voice softened. Please, Marissa. She's trying. I shouldn't have agreed. But some part of me still hoped Denise could change. Fine. But if she starts anything, I'm leaving. She won't. I promise. Christmas Eve, I drove to my mother's house. The decorations were excessive as always. Lights everywhere. A massive tree in the front window. I sat in the car for 5 minutes, gathering courage. My sister met me at the door. She's really happy you came. Inside, Denise greeted me with a hug that felt forced. Marissa, sweetheart. Come in, come in. She gestured to the dining room. This year, you'll finally sit at the adult table. The words hit me like a slap. Finally, as if I'd earned it now that I had money. I sat down anyway. Dinner was awkward. People made small talk about weather and sports. Nobody mentioned the lawsuit. Nobody mentioned Thanksgiving. Richard carved the turkey without looking at me. Then Denise stood up, glass in hand. I'd like to make a toast. She smiled at everyone. To forgiveness. To family. And to putting the past behind us. Everyone raised their glasses. Except me. Marissa. Denise's smile tightened. Don't you want to forgive and move forward? That depends, I said quietly. What exactly are you apologizing for? Her smile vanished. I'm not apologizing. I'm offering forgiveness. For the way you've treated this family. My sister nodded. You've been pretty harsh, Marissa. I set down my fork. I've been harsh. You cut Mom off. Rejected her. Flaunted your success. That's not how family behaves. I reached into my purse and pulled out a folded document. The room went silent. Everyone stared at the paper in my hand. What's that? Denise asked. My will. Updated and filed last week. I unfolded it slowly. I thought you should all know what's in it. I read from the document. To Declan Murphy, 20% of my business and property holdings, for his partnership and belief in my vision. To Uncle James, 15%, for protecting my father's wishes. To the Morrison Street Women's Shelter, $100,000. To the Community Arts Fund, $50,000. Denise's face grew paler with each line. I continued. To my sister, nothing, as she consistently sided with those who hurt me. To Richard Hale, nothing, as evidence suggests he vandalized my property in an attempt to intimidate me. Marissa, my sister started. I held up my hand. And to Denise Hale, my mother, I leave $1. Not out of cruelty, but as a reminder that she once valued me at less than a seat at her table. This dollar represents exactly what she thought I was worth. I hope she spends it wisely. The silence was deafening. Denise's hands shook. Her face turned red, then purple. You're leaving me $1? Yes. After everything I did for you. Because of everything you did to me. I folded the will and put it back in my purse. Merry Christmas, everyone. Denise exploded. She screamed words I won't repeat. She threw her wine glass against the wall. She called me ungrateful, heartless, cruel, vindictive. Every insult she could think of poured out in a torrent of rage. My sister cried. Richard tried to calm Denise down. My aunt stood in the corner, arms crossed, nodding slowly like she'd been expecting this. You're just like your father, Denise screamed. Cold. Calculating. He probably planned this from the beginning. He planned to protect me, I said calmly. From you. Uncle James, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. Denise, that's enough. You made your bed. Now lie in it. Even my sister's husband muttered, she did this to herself. That seemed to break something in Denise. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Not sad sobs. Angry ones. Frustrated ones. The sobs of someone who'd finally realized they'd lost. I picked up my coat and walked to the door. This time, nobody tried to stop me. I drove home and blocked every family member except Uncle James on my phone. Then I poured myself wine and watched Christmas movies until I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No angry calls. No texts. Nothing. I'd expected fury. Instead, I got peace. I spent the week after Christmas organizing my business expansion plans. The Morrison Street Creative Center was so successful that 2 other property owners had approached me about managing their buildings. I was becoming a name in commercial real estate. Declan took me to dinner. How are you holding up? Better than expected. I sipped my wine. I thought I'd feel guilty. But I just feel relieved. You set boundaries. That's healthy. My mother would call it cruel. Your mother called you too broke to sit at her table. Her opinion on cruelty is irrelevant. He reached across and squeezed my hand. You did the right thing. On New Year's Eve, I stood on the roof of my building, watching fireworks over the city. My phone buzzed. A notification. The Morrison Street Creative Center had been named in a national article about innovative small business spaces. I smiled and took a photo of the skyline. Dad would have loved this view. 6 months passed. Spring turned to summer. My business expanded into 3 buildings. I hired a small staff. The renovation videos I'd started during the initial project had grown into a full YouTube channel with sponsors and partnerships. I was thriving. Not just financially. Emotionally. I'd built something real. Something lasting. Something mine. Declan and I started dating officially. He took me to nice restaurants and made me laugh. He never once made me feel small. One night, over dinner, he said, "You know what I admire most about you?" "What?" "You chose yourself. Even when it was hard. Even when people called you selfish. You chose your own peace." He raised his glass. "That takes courage." I clinked my glass against his. I learned from the best. My dad taught me I was worth fighting for. That night, walking back to my car, I found a letter tucked under the windshield wiper. My name in familiar handwriting. Denise's. I stared at that envelope for a long time before opening it. The letter was short. "Marissa, I hope someday you can forgive me. I know I hurt you. I know I failed you as a mother. I was jealous of your relationship with your father. I was angry he left you something separate. I took out my insecurity on you. I'm sorry. I understand if you never want to see me again. I probably wouldn't want to see me either. But I hope you're happy. You deserve happiness. Mom." I read it twice. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my pocket. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. I just felt sad for the relationship we'd never have. I drove to the Morrison Street Creative Center. Even at night, the building glowed with warm lights. People worked late in the co-working spaces. A yoga class was wrapping up in the studio. Music drifted from an event on the second floor. I walked through my building, touching the walls my father had believed in. The walls I'd restored. The space I'd transformed. I wasn't too broke, I whispered to the empty hallway. I was just surrounded by people who were bankrupt in love. My phone buzzed. Declan had texted a photo of us from dinner, smiling. Happy. I saved it and kept walking through my building, feeling the weight of Dad's key in my pocket. Success wasn't my revenge. Peace was. And I'd finally found it. The end.